Okay, so for the last 2 lessons, we've been looking at the CAGED system and how to play all over the entire fretboard. We've been looking at all 5 positions and how to connect scales into those positions. So I'll put the 2 lessons up on the screen. You can think of these as a prerequisite to what we're going to talk about in this lesson. So you might want to start with EP524. In that video, we talked about the 5 positions and using major chords in those positions and how to play Mixolydian scale. We'll talk more about what that means and how to use it in this video. And then in EP525, we talked about minor chords and then the natural minor scale and the minor pentatonic scale. So in this video, we're going to pull it all together and play over a Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia style jam track and play over multiple chords. This is more of a real world example of how to actually use this stuff. And so I've got this lesson split into 2 parts. In this video, we're going to go through the first half. If you like to watch the part 2 video, download the MP3 jam track, which I have in multiple tempos. I have a slower version as well. And then get the tablature for everything. You can get all of that extra material by going to activemelody.com. Go to the weekly lessons page and do a search for EP526. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about before we dive right in is let's talk about the key. We're in the key of A. And so the chords we're going to be playing over, super basic. We have an A chord, then we go to the D chord. It's actually a D7, which is our 4 chord. Then we go back to the A chord. And then we go to the 5 chord, which is our E7. So that's it. It's 1, 4, and 5. Those are the chords we're going to be playing over. Now the cadence to this is like this. It's kind of a Bo Diddley, well, it's not kind of, it is a Bo Diddley style shuffle, the Bo Diddley kind of rhythm, and I'm playing that over each of the chords, like this. And I've done a lesson on Bo Diddley style rhythm. I'll put that up on the screen. I don't remember off the top of my head as I'm doing this, but I'll put that up if you're interested in that style of rhythm. But anyway, that's the rhythm that we're going to be playing over and talking about. Let's listen to the first phrase and then we'll break it down. Okay, so the first chord we're going to be playing over is our A chord. And here's what I played. Let's talk about that. So it starts with this little chord shape. It's actually a triad. And look at that. It's just your A triad, and it's right out of your E shape. So this is going to be all referring back to EP524. Most of everything I'm going to be talking about in this is in EP524. You might want to start with that video if you haven't yet. But anyway, the top part of that E shape, that's all I'm doing there for that first chord. Then I come up here and play this. This is an A9 triad. And actually, it's an E minor triad, but remember, inside of a 9 chord is a minor triad. I've talked about that in other videos, but we'll skip that for now. Just trust me on this. 7th fret 1st string, 8th fret 2nd string, 9th fret 3rd string. If you play those with an A in the bass or over an A chord, you're going to get an A9 sound. So we started with this chord, then we played the A9. Now this is the E position. The first chord is in the E position. This next chord, this A9, is in the D position. So it's our A chord in the D position. Again, all talked about in EP524. All right, so now that we have those first 2 chords, let's talk about the timing of when they come in. So this first one comes in on the and of 1, and the second one comes in on the and of 2. So it doesn't come in right away, right on the beat. It comes in on the and of 1. So you count it like this. 1 and 2 and. So right after the beat, 1 and 2 and. And then you go into that next phrase. Now the next lick goes. So this is walking right down that Mixolydian scale. I'm going to talk about why that's important in just 1 second, but let's look at those notes. On the first string we have 10, 9, 7, and then on the second string we have 10, 8. And all of this, Mixolydian scale in this position, in our D position, was talked about in EP524. I keep referencing that. This is really more of an extension to that lesson. Why did I use Mixolydian as opposed to the major scale? Somebody asked that. Actually, a few people asked that. I could have used the major scale, but it doesn't have the same vibe. Listen if I were to do. Hear that one note, it just doesn't sound right versus this. You get that bluesier vibe by flatting the 7, and so that's why you hear that in bluegrass, you hear it in country, you hear it in blues. It's in all your jam band stuff. It gives it. It's like the major scale, but with that flatted 7, you get a bluesier version of that, and it just works so much better over jamming. That's why I started with Mixolydian as opposed to just the major scale. Most of the stuff you're going to be doing when you're jamming in this style of playing is going to be Mixolydian. It's going to be, you might occasionally, it depends on the context, you might occasionally get into major scale stuff, but for the most part, that's a more used scale. Okay, so the next phrase goes like this. So I'm going to go between the 7th fret and the 8th fret on the 2nd string. So I play the 7th fret 2nd string, and then I do this. It's a pull off, hammer on, like this. And then I hammer on to the 9th fret 3rd string. And then I go back to the 7th fret 2nd string, back to the 9th fret 3rd string. So the whole phrase there goes. It's a cool little idea that you can use in other things. And then watch this. We're going to walk it down chromatically. So there's quite a few chromatic notes. That just means we're going to play, instead of going like this, we're going to go. We're going to hit all the notes along the way. And that's another little Jerry Garcia-ism that you hear quite a bit, where he plays, a lot of his stuff was chromatic like this. And then I come down, back into the E position, and do a hammer-on between the 5th fret and the 6th fret on the 3rd string. So all together, let's take it from the beginning. 1, 2, 3. All right, now after this, you can hear, even without a jam track, I've pulled us into a different chord position, or a different chord. So that's still the A chord. We go down into the A7. There's the flat 7. There's that Mixolydian note. And then, so this is all played on the 4th string here. So it's 7, 6, 5, and then we come all the way down to the 3rd fret, and we do a hammer onto the 4th fret on the 4th string. And then the next note is the 3rd fret 2nd string. So like this. Now, even without you hearing a D chord, you can hear that sounds like it sounds like another chord, and it's representing our D chord. So here's what I want you to get out of this. This is your D chord. Instead of playing a D chord, or when there's a D chord in a song and you want to do something over that, you've got that. You've got this. You've got this. You've got these little pieces which are really harmonized 6th. And how am I able to do them? I'm just thinking about the chord shapes. So this is going to go back. I'm going to be thinking about my D chord using the C shape. And if I were to play the full thing, it would be like this. But I don't need all of that. I just need this. I just need those 2 notes out of it. Okay. So when I think about a D chord, I've got 2 here, right? Out of your D chord that you know, that we all know. And then you've got 2 here out of this C shape. And then I've got 2 here out of my A shape, and so forth. So hopefully you're starting to see, okay, you can take these little chord voicings, and you can just use 2 notes out of them, and get a nice harmony. You can do adjacent strings and get harmonized thirds as well. So just throwing out ideas at you. Okay, so at this point in the song, we're in the D chord. So we played that, and then I came up here and went. I love this. I use this all the time, and it's easy for me to play. I think that's why I like it so much. It's just easy to visualize and easy to get to. So when I'm playing this, we're still over the D chord in the song. So everything I can do right now is D stuff. So I can think about all my D positions, right? And I can do whatever I want in those positions. So I came up to this G position. Now remember, it's the D chord. So your G position looks like this, or there's the bottom part of it. But what I like to do is I'm really thinking about this triad here, because that triad lives between the A shape and the G shape. It's a shared triad. And what I like about this is I can play my A chord and I get this bass note, but if I play my G shape, I get this bass note. And I got that from Wind Cries Mary from Hendrix. That whole idea comes from that in my head. That's what I associate that with. So anyway, I slid up to the 9th fret 5th string, played the triad, but I only played strings 4 and 3 out of it. And then I held that bar there, I held that triad, put my ring finger up here on the 9th fret 4th string, and then all the way up to the 10th fret 4th string while hitting that 3rd string. And you hear that chord, you're playing a 7 chord. You're playing a D7. That's another way to do it. This was talked about, I keep saying this, but this was talked about in EP524 as well. The Mixolydian scale is what we're really playing out of this shape. Now here's a little trivia for you, a little sidebar. I'm not even going to answer it. I'll let you guys figure it out, and you can leave a comment. But since we're playing D Mixolydian at this point, what major scale is that? Remember, every time we're playing one of these modes, you're playing somebody's major scale. That's a major scale of something. So the question you just have to ask yourself is, what is D the 5 of? Because Mixolydian is the 5th mode. So anyway, you guys can work that out. But that's the first thing that I played. So after this, then I came up here and went. Now what is that? Well, we're still over the D chord, so I'm thinking about the D chord in the A shape. We're in this neighborhood now. So I know when I'm in this neighborhood, I've got this little country thing. It's almost a pedal steel lick that I've used for all, just about every style. It doesn't matter if it's country or blues. I love this because it's easy to associate in my mind. So I'm thinking about the A shape, and when I play that A shape, if I'm playing the D chord, I've got one finger on the on the 7th fret and one finger on the 5th fret. So think of those two frets, 5 and 7. And if we think about them on the first 2 strings, we have. So I'm barring the first 2 strings there on the 5th fret, and then I come up to the 7th fret 2nd string, slide up to the 8th fret on the 2nd string while playing the 5th fret, so I'm keeping that bar. And then I can come back. Now that doesn't seem like much, but you got to walk away. If you get nothing else out of this entire video, just walk away with this one idea that you can play over something slow, something fast. It's so pretty and it's so doable, because all you have to do is just ask yourself, how do I get to the A shape of whatever chord we're playing? So in this case it would be here. That's how I did it though. So now the song switches back to the A chord. And I played that. This is another one of those great little takeaways. If you get nothing else and just get this idea, it'll be worth your time. So all of this is played out of the A chord using the E shape. This is how I'm thinking of it. So I come to the 7th fret strings 2 and 3, play those, and then the 5th fret strings 2 and 3. With a hammer onto the 6th fret 3rd string. That gets us in, that's our 3rd interval of the A chord. So that's the first part. And then we come down to the 4th string and play 7, 4, and then back to the 7th. So, and hitting this note is getting us out of minor and into major. So that would be one of the notes in your major pentatonic scale, be one of the notes in your Mixolydian scale. So you can go as opposed to this. So when you're thinking minor pentatonic, you're only thinking here, right? But you can always come down one more fret to get that major sound. That's more of the kind of thing B.B. King would do. Right? It sounds a little more sophisticated. And it works perfectly over that A7 chord. And then to conclude that, I went and slid in like that. And I did get that from B.B. And it's the same thing as this hammer-on, but it sounds a little better to just slide both strings up. So you're ending up with 5th fret 2nd string, 6th fret 3rd string, like that, but you're going to start that down a half step. So all together it goes. And then the last thing that I played after that, a little response to that call, goes, which is like an A6 chord. Little jazzy kind of deal. And so to play that chord, these 3 fingers are making the D7 chord shape. Think of your D7 chord in first position. If you were to play those here, so that your ring finger is on the 7th fret 4th string, and then your pinky's on the 7th fret 2nd string. And then you conclude it with the 5th fret 1st string with your index finger. That is an A6 chord. And that's what I did. I slid it down, and then back, and then an upstroke. All right, so while we're still playing over the A chord, I came down and went. All right, now all of this is played out of the A chord using the G shape. So that's where I'm at. And I've got my major pentatonic scale. I'm not sure if I talked about that, but you can connect that to this, to your G shape, it's in there. And then your Mixolydian scale's in there. But anyway, that's the position that I'm in. So I started on the 2nd fret 4th string, and I walked up chromatically, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. And then we come up to the 3rd string and play 2 and 4. So, and then watch this. We'll do a quick slide from the 5th fret 3rd string back to the 4th fret. So, and then I walked it back down, 4, 2 on the 4th string. And then there's a little hammer on between the 3rd fret 5th string up to the 4th fret on the 5th string. And then a slide back to the 2nd fret 5th string, and then open, and then we come all the way down. I think that's how I did it, all the way down to that open 6th string. So it's down, and that puts me in position to play over the E chord. So over the E chord, I didn't do anything that advanced here. I just played, I went ahead and made the E chord, and I just hammered on with my index finger like this. So I played 3rd string, and then did an upstroke on strings 1 and 2. So, and then I played this E7 triad here. Ring finger and middle finger are on the 4th fret, strings 1 and 3. Index finger is on the 3rd fret 2nd string. And that would be out of your E chord using the D shape. That's where we're at, what neighborhood we're in. So, the last thing I'll play in this video goes like this. I came up and played this also over the E chord. I'm thinking about the A shape. So I'm thinking about my E chord using the A shape. There's a chromatic walk between the 7th fret and the 9th fret on the 2nd string. And then we go up to the 7th fret 1st string. And then we're going to go 9, 7, back to the 9th fret on the 3rd string. So all together. And that's the final little phrase out of your A shape. Remember, it's the E chord out of that A shape. But you can see where that lick lives inside of that shape. All right, I'm going to wrap up this part 1 video right there. I'm starting to run out of time. Join us for part 2, where we'll go over the rest of the solo. And remember, as a premium member, you can also download the tablature, the MP3 jam tracks. You can practice playing all of this. It's really a great way to get familiar with a fretboard and learning how to play over these chord changes in all 5 positions. All right, we'll see you in part 2.